Hey everyone, today on People Now, breaking news in the Loughlin college admissions scandal.
Broadway star Nick Cordero takes a turn for the worse in his recovery from COVID complications. We'll tell you what we've learned.
And in lighter news today, season 3 of The Masked Singer unveils its new winner. We have highlights in case you missed it.
Plus,
I say get another date. I mean, we've got to have a what's next. We have to have something to look forward to.
Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta star Lori Allen and her daughter Molly have some helpful advice if you had to postpone your wedding due to the pandemic.
Also today,
we've taken it to a different level when you light your competitors on fire.
Holy Moly is back. The hilarious Rob Riggle and Joe Tessitore tell us all about the new season and how you can actually get involved at home.
That and more today on People Now. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to People Now. Happy Thursday. I'm Andrea Boehlke here in Wisconsin. Hope you're all hanging in there, doing well. Jeremy, how's it going in New York?
It's going well. Yep, I'm Jeremy Parsons here in New York. It's a busy show today. There's a lot to get to. Here's what you need to know and what's trending. Some breaking news Thursday in the college admissions scandal. According to the Department of Justice, Loughlin and Mossimo Giannulli have agreed to plead guilty to conspiracy charges. This comes after the couple pled not guilty for more than a year, even moving to dismiss charges as recently as 2 weeks ago. Loughlin and Giannulli are accused of paying $500,000 to get their two daughters into USC by way of the school's crew team, though neither daughter actually participated in the sport.
Under the terms of the agreement, which is still pending a judge's approval, Loughlin will serve 2 months in prison and Giannulli will serve 5 months. Loughlin will plead guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud, while Giannulli will plead guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud and honest services wire and mail fraud.
Additionally, Loughlin will have to pay a $150,000 fine and will experience 2 years of supervised release with community service. Giannulli is expected to receive a $250,000 fine and 2 years of supervised release, plus 250 hours of community service.
Upon release of this news, U.S. Attorney Andrew E. Lelling said the following. Under the plea agreements filed today, these defendants will serve prison terms reflecting their respective roles in a conspiracy to corrupt the college admissions process and which are consistent with prior sentences in this case.
Lelling added, quote, "We will continue to pursue accountability for undermining the integrity of college admissions." That was his quote for that. And we will, of course, continue to update you as more news comes in. Moving on to some sad news, Nick Cordero's wife, Amanda Klutz, shared a tearful update on her Instagram stories Wednesday, explaining that her husband's condition has taken a turn for the worse. Take a look.
Nick has had a bad morning. Unfortunately, things are going a little downhill at the moment. So I am asking again for all the prayers, mega prayers right now. I know that this virus is not going to get him down. That's not how his story ends. So just keep us in your thoughts and prayers today. Thank you.
The Broadway star has been recovering from coronavirus complications, and while Klutz did not disclose exactly what that setback entailed, she did reveal late on Tuesday night that her husband was having issues with an infection in his left lung. Though Cordero has woken up from his medically induced coma, Klutz told her followers on Friday that the actor is still on a ventilator due to that ongoing lung infection.
Klutz has been keeping fans up to date with daily updates about Cordero's medical situation via Instagram and has drummed up immense support with her hashtag #WakeUpNick movement over recent weeks. Cordero was first admitted to Los Angeles Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in late March for what the family initially believed was pneumonia. Earlier this month, Klutz shared that he was eventually diagnosed with COVID-19 and endured an infection that caused his heart to stop, 2 mini strokes, and a leg amputation.
And she has admitted that this is the hardest thing they've ever gone through, but calls Cordero a fighter and says he has not given up. She's still holding out hope that they'll get their code Rocky, which is the term that hospital workers use to describe a coronavirus patient being discharged after recovery. Klutz is still asking fans to show their support by singing and dancing to Cordero's song, Live Your Life, on social media every day, using another hashtag, #OffTheVent. And of course, we are wishing him and his family the best during this very difficult time.
A 32-year-old nurse working on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic was found dead in his car. According to his family, William Coddington passed away on April 25th in a hotel parking lot in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Reuters reports that he had been treating coronavirus patients at the JFK Medical Center in Atlantis, Florida.
On April 13th, Coddington shared on his Facebook page that his hospital was rationing personal protective equipment and the staff was running out of gowns. A spokesperson for the hospital told Reuters that the facility has adequate supplies of PPE.
Coddington's dad says that he was a very good kid, but he had his demons. His family and friends told Reuters that Coddington, who previously struggled with addiction and sought treatment at a rehabilitation center more than a decade ago, had been rattled by the fatal COVID-19 cases in his intensive care unit and couldn't attend his 12-step recovery meetings. Coddington's mother, Carolyn, says in her son's final weeks, he became more quiet, often retreating to his room once he got home from work. She says that she feared he would relapse. And according to Reuters, Coddington and his mother fought the day before his death. They made up, but he headed to a hotel to rest instead of staying at their shared home.
His father told the Palm Beach Post on Wednesday that the family has not received an autopsy report, so it's unclear if it was related to the coronavirus. But his family suspects he passed away from an overdose. The cause of death has not been released, and the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office and Broward County Sheriff's Office did not immediately respond to people's requests for comment. NBC Miami reports during Coddington's virtual funeral on May 6th, Carolyn told those in attendance, "Addiction is not a choice. And if you ever run across people who struggle, always be kind."
And now transitioning to a lighter story. Season 3 of Fox's The Masked Singer has come to an end, and the winner has been revealed. Take a look.
Okay, the winner of this season's Golden Mask is Night Angel, our queen. Grammy Award-winning producer, Kandi Burruss! Yeah!
That's right. The Night Angel was none other than the Real Housewives of Atlanta star, Kandi Burruss. She closed out the show with a powerful version of Tina Turner's hit, River Deep, Mountain High. And while Kandi sang in the 90s group Escape and even won a Grammy for her writing contributions on TLC's hit, No Scrubs, she told the judges that for a long time she had stopped singing herself, but that this experience has helped build her confidence back up.
Kandi's kids inspired her to participate in the Fox singing competition. And she said, quote, "I'm here not just for myself, but for all women and for my little angels to show them it's never too late to be the person you were meant to be."
I love that. The two other final standing competitors were also revealed. The Frog took third place and was unmasked as Bow Wow, who the panelists had suspected throughout the season. The Turtle nabbed second place and was revealed to be pop star Jesse McCartney, who the judges also suspected. I mean, this is such a fun show, right? I mean, I love it. You can turn it on, it's super joyful, and I love that Kandi had a lot of fun with it and was able to build her confidence back up through it.
Today's story to make you smile is featured in this week's issue of People and comes from Tuesdays with Maury author Mitch Albom and how he is helping one special kid.
8-year-old Knox arrived to the United States from Haiti on March 1st for what was supposed to be a brief medical trip. But because of travel restrictions due to the coronavirus, his trip has turned into a months-long stay with Mitch and his wife, Janine. And Mitch tells people Knox has been the light of their household.
Knox lives at an orphanage in Port-au-Prince, which Mitch and his wife Janine have run for about 10 years. They flew Knox into Detroit for a long series of medical treatments to ease the immobility he suffers on his left side as a result of a fall from when he was an infant. Mitch tells us the treatments are going well and that Knox is making great progress.
Knox's presence in the home has also inspired Mitch's latest project, an 8-part digital novel called Human Touch. He started publishing the work on April 10th to help raise money for COVID-19. The book follows the lives of 4 families in a small Michigan town as coronavirus rampages across the country, and a young boy, inspired by Knox, whose immunity to the virus may hold an answer to the crisis. Mitch's book has raised $450,000. He tells us that Knox has been a hero to him, so he wanted to create a character who does the same thing for everyone else. Mitch releases new chapters of Human Touch every Friday on MitchAlbom.com.
All right, stay with us. Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta star Lori Allen is sharing some advice for couples who have had to postpone their wedding plans. Plus, actor Rob Riggle and sportscaster Joe Tessitore are teasing up the latest season of Holy Moly, and they're revealing tips for how you can get in on the fun at home.
Stacy London is opening up in this week's issue of People about her own personal struggles and transformations. The former What Not to Wear host has had a difficult few years. She suffers from chronic illnesses, including psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, and underwent spinal surgery in 2016, which led to financial difficulties and a debilitating depression throughout 2017. Then in 2018, 2 monumental life events happened to Stacy. She lost her father, Herbert London, to heart disease and amyloidosis, and on a happier note, she met her girlfriend, Kat Yesbak.
When she first met Kat in the summer of 2018, she tells us that dating was not in the cards for her because her dad was so sick. He was her top priority at the time, with Stacy spending the majority of that year caring for Herbert. He died later that year in November. Stacy admits that she butt heads all the time with her father, who she described as hardcore conservative, but they were still extremely close and they loved each other deeply. And while she cared for her father, she and Kat kept in touch.
1 month after his death, the pair went on their first date and have been together ever since. Kat never met Herbert, but Stacy thinks they would have liked each other. She goes on to add, they would have sparred over a lot of things, but I really do think he brought her to me. He was watching out for me with her.
After her father's death, Stacy says learning to deal with her grief was a tripwire, explaining that she had to, quote, cope with more depression than she ever had before. But looking back, she says that she learned a lot from her grief, and it even changed her priorities. She explains, quote, I'm much closer to my family and friends now. There were 15 years where I was working so hard that I took my family for granted, and I'm making up for lost time.
Stacy has even teamed up with JED Foundation, which aims to prevent suicide in teens and young adults, and the crisis text line for her new podcast on mental health called Could Be Better TBH. And now at 50 years old, Stacy is starting what she calls a middle-age revolution. She wants society to acknowledge the big life changes that women in their 50s experience, physically, professionally, and through losing a loved one or becoming an empty nester. She says this, we should be celebrating menopause instead of bleeping about it.
She adds, the big goal for me is to feel vibrant without being a caricature of the Golden Girls. We love her perspective, and remember to check out this week's issue of People for even more. Now we move on to this.
I got it.
No. Let Daddy do his thing. Come here, you. You're going to bed. There once was an old woman who lived in a shoe. He's down.
Nicely done.
Seriously, good, right?
Oh, God. What happened to Daddy doing his thing?
All right, everyone. Season 4 of Workin' Moms is streaming right now on Netflix. The show is so funny. Perfect time to catch up while we're all staying home. The show's star and creator, Catherine Reitman, joins me now. How is it going, Catherine? How are you?
I'm good. I'm quarantined.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. How are you doing in isolation? Are there new hobbies that you've picked up with your family?
You mean like making bread and taking yoga every day? No, I mean, I feel like that is definitely the move of someone who doesn't have children and a full-time job. But we're lucky enough to be making season 5 at home right now, writing it away. So it's, I've definitely never written a season of a TV show at home with my kids running in and out of my bedroom. That's a new challenge. Mixed a little time for bread making.
Yeah, I mean, you're really doing a lot right now. Like you said, season 5, congratulations, by the way. So you're in the writer's room, you're juggling, teaching your kids, you're helping them with school, you're a working mom, just like the show. I mean, what's been the most difficult part of all of it and juggling all the things that you're juggling right now?
Oh, God. I mean, the truth is I have it very good compared to so many, and I'm really lucky. But I feel like becoming a mom is just a constant identity crisis. You're just constantly waking up each morning being like, okay, do I still have what it takes? Am I still interesting? Are all those parts that I loved about me when I was pre-children still alive in me? And I think when you're all of a sudden forced to stay home with your family, and I'm also living with my parents, so I've got 3 generations here, you're just under a spotlight all the time where you don't get a lot of time for yourself.
Like you said, you're in the writer's room. Where do you want season 5 to go? Is there something that you haven't explored yet that we're going to see?
I mean, there's always new things we want to explore. Every season we come in with about 1 trillion ideas, and we really have to sort of narrow it down to what feels most potent at this moment in time. And I think season 4, which is currently on Netflix, is only 8 episodes. It's a little bottle rocket. And so for season 5, we stretched it out. It's 10 episodes. And we're about to table read it for the first time this week on Zoom, which is totally weird.
Yeah.
Really new for us. We're used to really being in each other's energy and chemistry, and to think we're going to be just one-dimensional or two-dimensional like this is really, it's hard.
Yeah. Are you planning on incorporating any COVID-19 into it? Are you trying to stay away from that? We need a break from all of this going on.
I feel like a break would be good. My gut is that a lot of people are going to be incorporating it into their storytelling. And as a content creator, I'm like, well, of course, there are so many interesting working mom angles, largely that working mom and stay-at-home moms are the same for the first time in history. But I also feel like it's an escape. I don't know. I like to think of this show as fantasy fulfillment on some level, that you get to put on a suit and go to work and go after your ambitions and smash glass ceilings. And I think people are going to want to get away from their homes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just imagining this new wave of shows coming out all about coronavirus. I think you're right. I think staying away from it is a really good idea.
I mean, I think the reality is the future will never be the same. So we can't look at even handshaking or hugging as the same as we used to. Everything has to be alive, but I don't think it has to be trapped within the walls of our home.
Yeah. What I think is really cool watching the show is that your real life husband, Philip, is actually your on-screen husband. So you're working together, you live together. Do you two ever get any breaks from each other?
No. No, I mean, look, we drive each other crazy, of course. We're natural humans, and especially under quarantine. Shout out to all the partners out there getting by. But look, as much as this man drives me nuts, I have got his back, and I know he's got mine. And we're really we're proven. I mean, we work together, we parent together, we do it all together. And while there's moments where we we want to wring each other's necks, it's also we look at each other and there's no one I trust more in the whole world.
That's amazing. I mean, you two seem like you're thriving together, even though you're always together. What's your advice for other couples out there that are maybe struggling? And what is your advice for kind of keeping the spark alive, making some time for yourselves?
As corny as it sounds, someone said, you should dress up and do a date night in the house somewhere. Find a corner that you don't spend a lot of time in, and just the two of you should hunker down. And we were both kind of annoyed at that concept. And then we did it because it was both of our birthdays in the last month. And it was great. I mean, would we have rather been in a restaurant away from our kids at some fun bar somewhere? Of course. But it was, especially with the weather warming up, we've been able to take walks together and bring a bottle of wine and find little sneaky things to do that are just for us. And at the risk of sounding corny, it makes a difference.
Yeah. What corner of the house did you guys have your date night in?
The basement.
Okay.
The basement, because we knew the kids wouldn't find, well, it's after they're asleep. But yeah, we're with my parents, who we lean on a lot to, help with the kids, although it's just a totally different, like, you'd think they never had children. It's been so long. So we have to sort of like reintroduce them to all the concepts of what you do with a 6 and a 4-year-old. So there's been, in many ways, I feel like I have several levels of children.
Yeah. Now, every season of the show covers a lot of relevant topics when it comes to motherhood. I mean, also talking about the wage gap, to teaching your kids, to going to classes. Was there a particular issue from the 4th season that really resonated with people?
I mean, all the ones you just mentioned, I adored. I love that Jenny, of all characters, is the one who takes on the wage gap. We just thought that was so funny. Look, I think what we take on is our formula is finding a character and putting them in the most unlikely situation. Where would the comedy thrive? Where would their flaws be tested? And I think season 4 does that brilliantly.
All right, we can't let you go without mentioning Ghostbusters. Your dad was the director. You were in the 2nd movie, and now your brother Jason is directing the new film, which is going to be out next year. I mean, has he told you anything about the new film? How often is this brought up at the dinner table?
It's brought up a lot. I mean, this is our family franchise, right? This is part of the same way that we talk about working moms and anything else we're working on a lot. I have not seen it, but I know that if there is anyone who can do my father justice and keep the magic of what we're in love with alive, it's my brother.
Well, we're very excited to see it. Catherine, thank you so much. Congratulations on everything in season 5. And everyone, make sure you catch season 4 of Working Moms. It's streaming now on Netflix.
It's symbolic. Walt had it all the time on his desk.
Really?
He connected to that.
This particular piece, like a lot of things from Mary Poppins, was kind of lost. They didn't save these things back then. And the fact that it still survives, that kind of history is so important.
Do you love all things Hollywood and movie related? Well, then you are going to love the magic of Disney Plus's new show called Prop Culture. It features the props that have helped shape and create many of Hollywood's most iconic films. Take a look.
Okay, stand by. Here we go.
In a movie, every detail, no matter how small, is designed to tell you something. And ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with finding out more.
I want to see it first.
Come on! I'm Dan Lanigan, and I spent my entire life collecting artifacts from my favorite films. Now, I'm setting out to learn more about the props from the Disney movies that I love.
Captain Jack's iconic frock coat. He rocks this costume.
The actual Codalus.
What? These are more than just props and costumes.
This is a real cinema relic.
It is.
Sort of like me.
These historic artifacts help tell the story of how these films were made.
It's history. It's my childhood.
And as a fan, does it have your smell?
No comment.
Collector Dan Lanigan hosts the series, and it's something that he's wanted to do for a long time.
And I've been collecting movie props for over 20 years. And I thought the stories behind this stuff was amazing, and the people behind these amazing pieces were amazing. And it was tough because there were companies, there were production companies, and networks are interested, but they wanted to do a more transactional show, more about the money related to it, auctions and things like that. And that's not something I wanted to do. So as a kid, I collected Star Wars action figures. I collected comic books. I still collect action figures and Star Wars comic books. I've got a Star Wars droid right here on my desk, actually. It's a little bit of a professional action figure on Hot Toys, but love the stuff. And as I grew up and continued to be obsessed about that stuff, one of my other obsessions was film. And through researching behind the scenes and then spending time at Disney's MGM Studios growing up down in Florida, where you could actually see these props, it just kind of became an obsession of mine. I grew up on Disney movies, the cartoons. Mary Poppins was a big one for me when I was a kid. My dad would play these 8mm reels in our basement, and we would watch, Tom and Jerry cartoons and pieces from The Wizard of Oz and pieces from Mary Poppins. And actually Song of the South, the good parts of it, all different types of interesting Disney and film stuff of the period. And now that I have grown up, I've continued loving Disney films.
And while Dan has some favorite moments from films he watched while growing up, he shared with us some of his favorite moments while filming prop culture.
Richard Sherman, hearing him play the piano was spectacular. It was very much one of those moments where I can't believe I'm doing this in this place with this man moments. I kind of had to pinch myself. Sitting down and talking to Didi Wood was really emotional because, she's lived a long life and done some amazing things. And it was just really sweet to see her reconnect to the film. Getting a chance to hang out with the kids from Narnia, Anna and Georgie and William. I mean, it's like their family. It's like you're hanging out with family members. And yes, they played family members, but they really do feel like family to each other. But there's just so many great emotional moments. Like for me, hanging out with Rick Moranis was, he's a fan of mine. I'm not a fan of mine. I'm a fan of his. I have been ever since I was younger. And there's so many amazing moments. Meeting Tom St. Amand, going to Henry Selick's house and seeing his personal collection and just sitting down and rapping with him. There's so many moments I can talk about that have been just so great for the show, that personally for me, that I just get to do because of the show.
Speaking of Rick Moranis, who for the most part has taken a hiatus from Hollywood after starring in films like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Ghostbusters, Dan says he was the person he was most nervous to meet.
When we asked him, we didn't have high expectations. Realistically, he hasn't done really much. He stayed very private and, right place, right time, right project, I think. It was probably the most nervous I was throughout the entire show. And not that he was like emotionally the most important to me, although he was, because I love Strange Brew and I love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but there were some other people I really want to talk to. But it's Rick Moranis, it's this guy, he hasn't talked to anybody, he's choosing to talk to me. That's a lot of pressure.
And it's not only the actors Dan has met that have impressed him. it has also been the prop makers themselves. In one scene from the series, Dan reunites costume designer Tony Walton with a treasured piece from his past. Take a look.
I won't say we saved the best for last, but...
Oh,
Look at that.
oh, I'm so happy to see you. Hi. So, of course, the challenge on this was to attempt to find out how to make the dressings, the cherries and the flowers, look a little funny, a little cheeky.
Tell me, what does something like this, a piece like this that you worked on so many years later, represent to you?
Well, in this particular instance, because it's Julie, it has a very emotional flash going on. It throws me right back into memories of that time, not least the arrival of our baby, Emma. Made it an extraordinarily happy time, which was clearly one of the strongest intentions that Walt had.
I mean, here you go. It's Mary Poppins is standing in front of us 60 years later.
Hello.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I'd like to give her a hug, if I may.
It is interesting to see their connection to the work that they did. But when you think about it, like Mary Poppins' costume, yes, Julie Andrews is Mary Poppins, but just as much of Mary Poppins is that costume. And when you see it displayed on a mannequin, it's the character, it's the iconography. And I think when you think about this iconography that's created through these wonderful films and how you connect to them, it makes perfect sense that people, especially when they haven't seen it for so many years, for them to get excited and emotional, because it's almost like a character in its own right. And it was, I teared up a few times. Definitely. I wasn't expecting the level of, I knew people would be excited about it, but I wasn't expecting the level of emotional surprise that we were getting.
Mary Poppins' costume is totally iconic, but for Dan, the holy grail of props is another item from the movie, and it's something he hopes to uncover someday soon.
It wouldn't be for my collection. It would be to try and reunite it with the Disney collection, would be one of the original umbrellas from Mary Poppins. We did a lot of research on that, and there was a few pieces that had sold publicly that claimed to be originals that we just couldn't verify that were original pieces, because there are misinformation out there, and for all we know, maybe that some of these or one of these isn't original. But if I could help track down one that we felt confident was real, that would be amazing to bring that back to especially the animatronic version. But it would be amazing to bring it back to the Disney archives.
For more on Dan Lanigan's quest into the history of film props, watch Prop Culture, streaming now on Disney+.
Well, we all know and love Lori Allen as the star of TLC's Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta, filmed on-site at her salon, Bridals by Lori. I spoke with Lori and her daughter Molly about how they're doing amid the coronavirus pandemic and what advice they have for couples who have been forced to cancel or postpone their special day. Take a look. Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you both doing? Molly, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. Things have been a little bit crazy with the coronavirus. I'm a mom to 2 little ones, and I was not meant to be a homeschool mom, let me tell y'all. But we're surviving and excited that summer is finally here.
And Lori, how are you doing amidst this pandemic?
It's been really interesting. I mean, we've had to find the new normal for retail in our store. And it has really been a challenge for us because, as you know, bridal is a shopping experience where you touch people and encourage them and look at their facial expressions. And we've just had to change everything.
Lori, you have Bridals by Lori, and a lot of weddings have been postponed, canceled. Yes, what advice do you have for couples, brides specifically, who have had to postpone or cancel their weddings? What's your piece of advice for them?
Most of our brides have postponed them, and a lot of them have opted for smaller ceremonies at home, still wearing their bridal gown, getting a great bouquet, having their family members with them, and then they're going to do a large reception later. I've had that happen a lot. As far as people totally postponing their wedding, I say get another date. I mean, we've got to have a what's next. We have to have something to look forward to. I think it's so important now. Don't just say I'm going to postpone it and do it later. Set another date, keep something focused and in mind.
Although it's been tough on business, both Lori and Molly agree that business leaders need to get creative to keep their doors open and make it work. And Lori is used to overcoming setbacks herself. Fans of the show will know that she battled breast cancer in the past and suffered a major fall while filming season 11 of the show. She underwent surgeries and physical therapy, and she recalled that fall during our chat. Take a look.
The fall was the craziest thing, and it can just show that accidents happen to all of us and can happen at any given time. I was having the best day. We were having so much fun. We're shooting the intro, and a train is left on the floor and it's got a sequin underlay with tulle on top, and I didn't see it. It matched the color of our floor, and I just smacked on my face. And I broke both wrists, had 9 pins in one, broke my nose, broke 3 ribs. I mean, just in a matter of a second. And then I passed out on top of it all. And well, Molly, I felt so bad. My son was here. I'm in the ambulance. I said, do not tell Molly. Of course, she's on vacation. She rushes home. And, you know, my husband, they were just all so concerned. And, you know, to me, it makes you prioritize life, to see what's important, as we are doing now with the COVID. You know, we're stopping and we're taking time to realize how important family is to us and to live your passion. You know, what matters to you. It gave me a lot of time to reflect because I couldn't even move. I was helpless.
I was on spring break with my daughters and husband, got on the next plane and was there brushing her teeth, helping her out. By the way, I'm not a great nurse. You probably saw that.
Wait, Laura, you said she's terrible?
Gagging, brushing her teeth, but I
cover my face, honey.
I commend all healthcare workers because it just takes a really strong stomach that I do not have. But I loved being able to be there for her. I was really thankful, and I also handle her PR and her social media, so just the outpouring of love and support really was overwhelming.
It was so sweet. You know, the day that I came home from the hospital after this big wrist surgery, I'm in the front seat. Molly is in the back seat with my barf bag, throwing up the whole way home. That's how the nursing went down, let me tell you.
Well, it's, you know, it's the effort that counts, Molly. You were there, the moral support.
She's like, you're making me so nauseated.
Lori is also launching her debut book called Say Yes to What's Next to empower women approaching 50 and beyond who may feel like they want to give their lives a little makeover. She says that inspiration for the book came once she turned 60.
Out of nowhere, people are like, well, when are you going to retire? And it just took me by shocked. I'm like, what? And they're like, well, when are you going to retire? Have you thought about retiring? When are you going to retire? And I'm like, why is that a given with females past a certain age? You know what? I don't think you would be asking that of a man. And why are you asking that of me now? You know? And so that got me to just looking at the media and, you know, just thinking about this whole thing. And I'm like, you know, there's no advertisements for women over 60. You know, we're just like a forgotten demographic. We're supposed to just go away. And really the book is geared for women over 45. But I think it holds true to any woman. It's to take stock of your life.
It's such a great perspective, and thank you so much for calling out the ageism, the sexism, because that is something I feel as a woman that it's just, you're not treated the same. And I'm so happy that you're doing this and calling it out. Molly, you must be so proud of your mom. Do you have a favorite chapter? Because you helped write the book as well, right?
I did. My mom called me with the idea for the book, and we're always bouncing creative ideas off of each other. But when I specifically heard this idea, I was so excited. This is the perfect platform for her because she always has been such a motivator to women, including myself. And writing this book together, I learned a lot about my mom. I think my mom probably cried more during the process of writing this book than I've ever seen her cry in the years before.
And I'm not a big crier, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, she's not a big crier at all, but she let herself be really vulnerable and raw in this process. The book is not all roses. It talks about things that were really, really hard. And so I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. You know, my mom had to go through the trenches to come out the other side and really embrace and live the life that she does today.
Lori's book is full of ideas for women to better their lives. But I wanted to know, what is Lori's biggest piece of advice for women who want to rediscover their best selves?
I think my biggest piece of advice is to just stop and be quiet. And this corona has caused us to be a little bit more quiet, but stop and slow down, be quiet, and take stock of your life. Do you love you? Do you love who you are? Do you love what you're doing? I think a really good question, and I've asked myself this. I mean, in my final days, am I going to look back with regrets? Am I going to feel like that I lived a meaningful, purposeful life to the end? Because when you get to this last quarter of this cookie, I call it a cookie, you know, and you get to this last quarter past 45 or whatever, you know, I think that part needs to be as meaningful as the other 3/4 part of this cookie. So that's my best advice for you. Just stop.
No, I mean, this is inspiring me because now I want to take stock and really rediscover who I am. She's so wonderful. For more of Lori Allen's tips and humor, pre-order her book, Say Yes to What's Next, available on July 14th, wherever books are sold.
Just when you thought it was safe to get back on the course.
Oh, that was a body check.
The world's most extreme mini golf competition returns.
We're back.
Oh!
And it's holier and molier than ever.
Did you just see that? That man knows how to ride a wiener.
Holy moly! You can't help but say it. I caught up with Holy Moly 2, the sequel's commentators Rob Riggle and Joe Tessitore. They broke down this extreme mini golf competition, from Rob using his marine skills as a tactic to just what makes someone qualified to enter this craziness. Watch. Oh. The bar's obviously a very...
let's see, that you can withstand the blow of a windmill blade and drop into freezing cold water, or have a zip line propel you into a totem pole at about 30 miles per hour and get up and still putt. Rob and I just absolutely roar every night with what these competitors go through. This year, and I think, Rob, you'd agree with this, the golf skill was much better. I mean, we had former professionals out there. We had Olympians out there. We had folks that took part in the U.S. Open. And then a lot of people also who take part in these mini golf world championships and these World Series of putting. So you do have to be a good golfer, but you have to be able to take a body blow. That's for sure.
That's true. And Rob, you're trying to get people involved. I saw you posting about this, Holy Moly from home, and you had this great video throwing the golf ball half a mile down to your neighbor's putting green. How do you want people to get involved here?
Get involved. Yeah, look, there's all kinds of ways, but we are doing that at-home challenge. So if you can create the ultimate putt-putt hole in your house or around your house, or like I did, use your neighbors, by all means, submit it. We'd love to see what you got, because there's a lot of creativity. People have time on their hands during this quarantine, so get creative. It's also something the family can do together.
Yeah.
Just create some sort of putt-putt hole in your house.
It's so over the top. I just want to know, from your perspective, what wild obstacle have you both been most proud of that the show has been able to introduce and pull off well and bring that entertaining kind of bizarre aspect to families?
There's a lot. We had close to 18. I don't know how many holes we had this year, but it was a tremendous amount. And seeing the double Dutch windmill that I think Joe mentioned a second ago, seeing how we up the RPMs on that, watching people get launched, sent. They got launched into the water was really pleasing. And then of course we introduced Dragon's Breath, which we've taken it to a different level when you light your competitors on fire.
Yeah, I think that was the moment, wasn't it, Rob? That was the moment where we gave pause when we're sitting there broadcasting, because all of a sudden you saw the two horses coming down, and the competitors are, the knights in shining armor. And there was this lovely 65-year-old grandmother, and she would bring homemade cookies to the set. And then the next thing you know, she's engulfed in a fireball. She is on fire. And Rob and I don't know. And I remember Rob's like, they're not really doing that to her, are
They're
they?
not.
I mean, she's
I didn't believe
engulfed in
it.
flames.
Right. I mean, can we just let's just think about how the goalposts have moved in terms of what we consider family entertainment these days. Based on the description you just gave. Ball of fire. It's crazy. And
Joe mentioned earlier that the competitors this year were outstanding. Like, we had the range of competitors, but all of them, no matter, you know, what you're looking at, retirees all the way to competitive golfers in the US Open, they all had the desire to compete. No matter what we proposed, they were like, I'm in, let's do it. Let's do it. So hats off to the competitors.
Joe, you may have kind of hit this. Number one piece of advice for contestants coming into Holy Moly. What did you share? What would you share for future wannabes?
Boy, you know,
life insurance.
Do ad work. Yeah, I mean, life insurance definitely, but I just could not believe the wipeouts. I could not believe the wipeouts. You have to be fearless, and you have to smile through the whole thing. I mean, we do. We get to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, it's a buddy comedy. Thank God one of us is funny. But you have to laugh throughout the whole thing because you can't believe what's happening as a competitor.
Rob, we know that you served in the Marines for a long time. Here's my attempt to work that into this interview. You've got a tactical mind. I wonder if there's any practical, tactical sort of toolkit that people could utilize in winning Holy Moly.
Get low, stay low.
Okay, see, right there.
Hey, I say don't give up, Riggle, right? Because this year we had a lot of comeback stories and upsets and sort of redemption stories here. You know, you thought somebody was down and out on an individual hole or an individual episode, and they never gave up, and it was proven true at the end.
Absolutely, that is very accurate. There were many times you thought it was over, and it wasn't, because that's the weird thing about putt-putt. It's not only the obstacles they have to overcome, it's actual putt-putt. And you gotta make these putts. You know, we actually count up how many strokes. So just when you think you're safe or you think you're home free, someone would make a miraculous shot, or you would screw up a shot and get behind the curve. And it was never over until it was over for all the competitors. It was pretty great.
NFL draft looked very different. Sports in general, there's a big question mark surrounding how that's going to look moving forward, especially when it comes to the NFL. What do you think about how we're going to open up and move forward when it comes to those types of things that obviously a lot of us as fans, at least to watch on TV, are really looking forward to as long as it's safe?
Well, listen, the fan experience is a big part of watching a live remote event, and we're already dipping our toe into the fanless sports atmosphere. And you know, come June, that's what I'm going to be doing a lot of on ESPN is big-time top-ranked boxing, championship-level boxing, Vegas boxing that we're used to seeing with the MGM Grand with 20,000 people is going to be in a fanless, sterile environment. And I think to our ear, it's noticeable. So we're all playing around with how do you deal with that experience for the fan at home that doesn't hear the roar when a knockout happens. And the football season is going to be very interesting. But I will tell you, as every day goes on, I'm more and more bullish that we will absolutely have both an NFL and college season.
All right, coming up tomorrow, Amazon Prime series Homecoming is back for a second season, and star Janelle Monáe is telling us what we can expect.
Plus, Ramona Singer will be breaking down some juicy Real Housewives of New York City drama. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and healthy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.